You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, October 16th. We're just about halfway through the month here and coming up on Halloween. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show here. Our phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and opinions. And, of course, obviously, last night was the Democratic debate. And it started out interesting and fun. It kind of deteriorated, and I'll be very honest, I didn't make it all the way through. And I basically said, let's go watch Star Trek or something like that. They opened up the pre-debate, if you will, with all of these big muckety-mucks from the Democratic Party coming on out and taking, pot shots at Donald Trump about all the promises he made in 2016 that have not been kept. And the hard part is, for the most part, they were bang spot on. Trump has let supporters, his backers, his voters down on a lot of different areas. But they were really hammering that message that Trump must be a one-term president. And they really kind of just focused on that. The Democrats pretty much pandered to Israel. And that may not be a good idea, because polls are showing Democratic voters are starting to cool down on all of this unquestioning support for Israel. And they're beginning to recognize that the Palestinians have a legitimate gripe. And so campaigning by saying, I'm a friend of Israel, may not get the traction that these candidates are hoping. On the other hand, they're probably not pandering to the voters so much as to Jewish donors, Sheldon Adelson and his ilk. And they're out there saying, give me money and I'll be a friend to Israel. Well, it's reasonable. Give me enough money, I'll be friendly to somebody. And Joe Biden basically came on out looking, sounding, and acting a lot like Joe Biden. He stumbled and bumbled and rambled, and in a lot of cases wasn't really making much sense, to the point where Elizabeth Warren was laughing at him. They got her on camera. So anyway, the Democratic candidates, by and large, go on the attack, or went on the attack rather, against Elizabeth Warren on the health care issue, or health care for all, and taxes. How is she going to pay for it all? How is she going to lower taxes for ordinary Americans? And of course, one of the big points they made during the opening salvo at the president was that he promised tax cuts, and the only people who got the tax cuts were the big corporations and the already ultra wealthy, who really don't need the money as much as you and I do. But they basically, that became an issue for most of the candidates here. But oddly enough, Elizabeth Warren right now is in a tie for first place in the polls with Joe Biden. And I think at this point, it's difficult to say, is Elizabeth Warren really coming on, or is Biden starting to melt down in front of us all here? Now, Buttigieg went after Warren for dodging questions on her health insurance plan. She talks more about the selfies that she's taken than how she's going to pay for all of this. And it's the same thing that we saw with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her Green New Deal. How are you going to pay for all this? Well, we'll just pay for it. How? We'll just pay for it. How? We'll just pay for it. Ann Coulter came on out and said that Warren, if she's elected president, she's going to ditch economic populism. In other words, you ordinary Americans grab onto your wallets, you're on your own. And she's going to be pedal to the metal on the transgenders. And there was a lot of pandering to the LGBTQ, BFD, PSS, whatever it is this week. And they're trying to get the transgender vote. And notably, all of these Democratic candidates, when they were speaking, they weren't really talking very much about the wars. They really weren't talking all that much about the economy, other than it needs to be better, we can do it for you. Okay, now Tulsi Gabbard made that debate. She still hasn't qualified for November, and I hope she does, although I'm starting to kind of cool on her a little bit. In fact, to be brutally honest, I didn't see anybody on that stage that I could find enthusiasm for. You know, I mean, the stage was beautiful, looked like a rock concert, but those people standing there looked like a police lineup more than anything else here. So Tulsi Gabbard basically went on the attack against CNN and the New York Times, and basically on their turf because they co-hosted this debate. And she took them to task for this continuing accusation that because she was opposed to the war in Syria, that she simply must be a Russian agent. And even CNN's hosts were kind of squirming at that one. Apparently, one of the guests claimed that Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian puppet. Anybody who doesn't love the sting of battle and the smell of blood and the sound of the guns, they've got to be working for the Russians here. And the irony, of course, is it looks like Russia's going to wind up pretty much in charge of Syria anyway. We'll talk about that in a little tiny bit here. So in the middle of the Democratic debate, Anderson Cooper decides to step on in and declares that Joe Biden has been falsely accused. Really, he didn't do anything. It was just a coincidence. He was a vice president when Hunter was getting all these sweetheart deals, and you should make a big deal about that. That's how these things work. Now, Rush Limbaugh came on out with a comment saying that the Democrats don't want to get rid of Biden on the corruption angle because then they're all exposed to it. So Rush is basically saying they were all dipping in. They were all dipping into these deals here. Same thing, I think, my theory, over at the Clinton Foundation here. But there is a scandal there with Biden, and it is simply that classic case of nepotism. And yeah, of course, what's really interesting in an age when we're all being told that we must limit our freedom of speech, political candidates take the position that it's okay for them to lie, that they're protected by the First Amendment, that they can tell you anything they think will win your vote. You, ordinary Americans, you better mind your mouth and what you're saying here. So Joe Biden got up there and he said, my son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. It was all legitimate work being done over there in Ukraine. As it turned out, Hunter Biden was also on the Amtrak board of directors. And when somebody said, what's he doing on all these boards of directors? I mean, he was just a young kid, just out of school. The only advantage he had, and he's admitted this on video, Daddy was the vice president. So the Democrats are out there trying to say, well, you know, Hunter spent a lot of time on trains. And that qualifies him to be on the board of directors of Amtrak. Well, I spent a lot of time on trains. Claire and I were involved in a railway museum when we lived in Washington State, but I'm not about to send my resume to Amtrak's upper management team. That would be silly. That would be absurd. Absolutely. Okay, now, a while back there was a big stink, and this is tied in with the Steele dossier, where Adam Schiff got pranked by these Russian DJs. They're becoming quite famous. They impersonate people. They have this knack to get on the phone and actually get through to very important people. And they basically pranked Adam Schiff, saying that they had compromising pictures of Donald Trump when he was in Moscow. Remember some of the details of the Steele dossier involved, prostitutes and, well, I'm not going to go into the details here. We don't need to do that. And Adam ran with that. And then when it came on out that he'd been pranked, ha ha ha, big joke. But John Hollis, who's running for Schiff's seat, has filed a formal ethics complaint based on that call and what Adam Schiff did with it. I think we ought to bring back dueling, settle some of these gripes and everything. And now that I think of it, the brace of dueling pistols used by Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr are still in the possession of J.P. Morgan in New York. A little bit of work, a little bit of oil, I'm sure they'd work. They're smooth bore, so easy to clean up here. All right, Adam Schiff is still telling liberal reporters that Trump coerced Ukraine's President Zelensky, even though the story was debunked 3 weeks ago. Hey, it sounds good, and I'm protected by the First Amendment. I'm allowed to say these things here. Meanwhile, 125 members of the House of Representatives have signed on to a motion to basically censure Schiff for this phony Trump-Ukraine script that he read on the floor of the Congress without informing people it was a work of fiction. And Adam Schiff tried to sort of deflect from that by saying, well, it was satire. It was humor. Everybody should have realized it was a parody. They didn't announce it at the time here. Getting back into the impeachment situation, this is just getting murkier and murkier and more absurd as time goes on. Jim Jordan is out there saying whistleblowers do not have a right to anonymity. And we shouldn't pay attention to somebody who insists that they do. If I'm going to blow the whistle on somebody, I'm going to put my name on it so you know who you're dealing with. And you should demand exactly the same. Who is this person who is making these claims? Now, in the case of Edward Snowden, we know it was Edward Snowden. In the case of Chelsea Manning, we know it was Chelsea Manning. In the case of Julian Assange, we knew it was Julian Assange. They did not hide their identities. And by the way, they did pay a very heavy price for exposing government wrongdoing, which is what whistleblowing is supposedly all about. And the latest bombshell to hit this impeachment circus, send in the clowns, there have to be clowns. It turns out that the latest Democrat impeachment witness, Fiona Hill, was not even working in the White House at the time of Trump's phone call, but she was very upset with it. That's literally what has come on out. She wasn't even in the White House when all this supposedly happened. She has reasons to be upset. Nancy Pelosi has informed the Democrat caucus there will not be a formal floor vote to launch the impeachment probe. They're just going to go ahead and have an impeachment probe because they feel like it. Because Orange Man bad. And actually what's going on is Pelosi is trying to establish a precedent that the White House should not have the power and the means to interfere with how the House conducts its business, forgetting that there are very strict rules regarding the process of impeachment in the Constitution. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi's out there with George W. Bush. Constitution, smonstitution, it's just a blankety-blank piece of paper. So they're just moving ahead, full steam ahead, foot in the boiler. And there will be no formal vote. And again, it's another case of Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump pressing their foreheads against each other and saying, no, this is the way things are going to happen. I think there ought to be a vote. And I think Trump is right to say, let's just have the impeachment vote. Forget about the probe. If you have something that you can impeach me for, go ahead and impeach me. So far, all we've got is rumor, innuendo, and supposition. That's all they got. So Democrats have changed the impeachment inquiry rules again. The closed door interviews, Adam Schiff came on out and said, you, the American people, you don't have a right to know what we're talking about. It's none of your business here. Well, these closed door interviews are now considered depositions. And the reason they're doing that is to limit whoever's being deposed to just one attorney asking questions per round. In other words, it's another way of taking these very questionable, dubious so-called witnesses and further insulating them. And by having these things as depositions, there will be transcripts, obviously, which can be selectively leaked by the Democrats to the media. So that's why they're doing that one here. But it looks like the impeachment push is losing traction. I know a lot of people are tired of hearing about it. It's a great deal. If you've got an impeachable offense, and by that we mean, obstruction of justice, sicking the IRS on somebody, abuse of power. That's what they're trying to claim, is that this phone call represented an abuse of Trump's power. Well, you know something? Phone calls with the leaders of other countries, that's actually in the presidential job description. Roosevelt would call Winston Churchill, for example. Nobody impeached him for that. And we already know the claim that Trump coerced the Ukrainian president. That's been discredited. So where is the impeachable offense here? Anyway, over at the Drudge Report, he has been running weeks of Trump impeachment headlines. And today he appears to have stopped. And his lead story was all involving the NBA and China affair. And so, yeah, they're losing traction over there. This impeachment thing is not working. And it's not working for a very simple reason. Impeachment is a serious, serious matter. And you can't just impeach the president just because you don't like him. Especially in a situation where the Senate is not going to vote to remove Trump from office. They don't have the votes to do it, which sets up a rather bizarre Twilight Zone kind of a situation where Trump could actually be impeached and still run for his second term next year. That's how bizarro land our political system has become. All right, actress and Me Too activist Rose McGowan has dropped her support of Hillary Clinton. Big Hillary booster. But apparently after this story came on out about how Hillary Clinton was trying to protect Harvey Weinstein by trying to get a story about what he'd been doing suppressed. And so Rose McGowan is now saying, no, I can't back that. I can't support that. Nor should she. It's a very dishonest thing to do here. Okay, this one... You never can tell. This is going to be this Christmas hot-selling item. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is getting her own action figure because she's the face of the future. They're making a toy. There's going to be a doll in the toy store that is based on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's just amazing there. All right, another story that's kind of breaking on out there. Apparently, between 2017 and 2018, FBI employees conducted 3.1 million questionable and illicit searches, including searches on U.S. citizens. They're just spying on everybody. All right, we got to take a break here for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And let's talk a little bit about the various war zones around the world, emphasis on the plural. The House today actually passed a resolution rebuking Donald Trump for his pullout. They're calling it a pullout of Syria here. And here's the irony of all of that. Congress is now condemning President Trump for scaling back a war in Syria Congress never authorized. Just think about that for a while. Congress authorized the war in Syria, but now that they get to attack Trump, well, that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. How do we do that? I think they ought to take everybody in the House who voted yes on this rebuke bill, all guns and parents, and send them home. They think Syrians are that important? And why are the Syrians and the Kurds more important than our own American children? That's another question that never seems to get answered, never even gets asked, certainly not in the corporate media here. Meanwhile, the Syrian army has gained full control of Manbij, which at one point was pretty much the headquarters of ISIS. Made huge gains there. The Syrian army enters the strategic city in Al-Raqqa with heavy equipment. They're rolling in the big guns and the big tanks. It's going to be a noisy night there. And a story that came out of government slaves that, yes, confirmation, the Kurds have joined with Assad to defend Syria against Turkey. This is going to be kind of interesting here. Meanwhile, we look at all the bloodshed that's going on in Syria, and it's horrible. Apparently, they, like Lebanon, have been hit with this barrage of forest fires at Homs, Latakia, and Turtus. And these are all these farmlands. And crops are being destroyed. And for two different countries, both of whom have a shared enemy, to all of a sudden be hit by these fires, attacking their basic food supply, which is an ancient tactic in warfare, destroy the food supply. Starting to view these fires with a great deal of suspicion. All righty. So Turkey is getting ready for their invasion of Kurdish-occupied Syria. And, of course, Turkey doesn't own Syria. Remember when all of this started? It's going to be a buffer zone. We're going to encircle this one little city, and then when this is all over, we'll give it back. And, of course, that didn't happen. So, Turkish invasion of Kurdish-controlled Syria has finally brought some attention to the U.S. presence in the country. Why are we there? What is the purpose of the U.S. troops in Syria? Now, the cover story, the last cover story, U.S. presence in Syria is that it's to fight the Islamic State. But if that were truly the case, then why has the U.S. sided with Kurdish separatists rather than the government of Bashar al-Assad? So that doesn't make sense. And we know it's a lie anyway, because of all the lies that came before. Saddam is gassing his own people. We're there to basically take control of the oil. And of course, Syria is a strategic location. If you look on the map, you can say, yeah, you can project a lot of power from there here. All right, yesterday it was reported that Donald Trump had sent Mike Pence over to Istanbul to meet with Erdogan. And Erdogan refuses to meet with Pence. He's saying he's feeling disrespected. Certainly understand that. And he says he's only going to talk to Trump, which would actually be to his advantage because Pence is a better negotiator, I think. Erdogan is mocking Trump, saying he can't keep track of the president's tweets about Turkey's Syria invasion, and then dismissed the threat of U.S. economic sanctions as nothing to worry about. So sanctions are a psychological device. Oh, we're being sanctioned. We're being sanctioned. You get sanctioned enough and you start to say, big deal. It's like being called an anti-Semite one too many times. And you start saying, oh, okay, fine. That's what you want to think. I don't care. And apparently there's been another show of force. U.S. jets and helicopters threaten Turkish-backed fighters who came very close to American troops in Syria. Didn't fire on them this time. Turkey is claiming that was a mistake. But apparently these Turkish-backed fighters got too close to the American troops. So they sent out the aircraft, as it were. Okay, we got to take another break here for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. Now, the New York Times is reporting that the United States is finally reviewing plans to flush the nuclear weapons storage vault at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey, which I think would be a really good idea. Now, it's a U.S. base. It's part of NATO, and they store 50 warheads there, mostly of the B-61 design. The question is that base is surrounded by Turkish military forces. And Erdogan has to be thinking about how the field would change, the game would change, if he were to grab one or two of those warheads. So the big question is, can the United States get in and out those nuclear weapons? They're probably going to have to try and fly them out. Anyway, that's going to be another area of contention there. I mean, even if, hypothetical, the U.S. goes on in, they throw a bunch of these B-61s into a transport plane, and it takes off, and Turkey shoots it down. Now, the bomb casing itself is going to be destroyed, but the critical component, the fissionable material, so it's a two-stage, multi-stage design. Just having that material gives you a tremendous advantage here. Doesn't take that much to build the bomb, especially a uranium bomb. It's a big, long pipe. 2 subcritical masses of uranium at either end. Slap it together, it goes bang. That's it. So there could actually be a conflict over these nuclear bombs between 2 supposed NATO allies. Now, ABC has been taking a lot of criticism over showing this video twice, which was actually taken at a Kentucky gun range a couple of years ago. At night, they were out there with the Tenorite and having a lot of fun. And ABC aired it as a current story, claiming it showed Turkey's military killing Kurdish civilians after being abandoned by President Trump. And they showed this thing twice, and they've been called on it. And ABC News is still refusing to issue an on-air correction. They want you to believe that what they showed you is true. And it wasn't. It was another lie. Over in Hong Kong, China, protesters are waving droves of USA flags as Xi Jinping threatens to, quote, smash their bodies and grind their bones into dust. That is really heating up over there. And waving those US flags is not helping the situation that Beijing thinks this is the United States getting ready to carve Hong Kong off of China the way they tried to steal Crimea from Russia. So that's tensing up over there as well, and it doesn't seem to be showing any signs of slowing down. Meanwhile, over in Spain, as we mentioned briefly yesterday, the leaders of the Catalan separatist movement, and they began this something like 10 years ago, and they had a referendum. And the referendum said, we don't want to be part of Spain any longer. We want to be Catalonia. And the Spanish government came in and said, no, we own you. And they arrested the leaders of the separatist movement, and they put them on trial and sentenced them to an aggregate of almost 100 years in prison. And this has not made things better, because apparently there's a major, literally they're calling it a battle. Tens of thousands of Catalonians have taken to the streets, and apparently it is so chaotic. Flights at Barcelona airport have been disrupted. Tourists were forced to get out of their taxis hundreds of yards away from the airport and walk to the departure building. Everybody's angry these days, and I don't blame them. I'm old enough to remember what the world was like in happier times. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the economic news here. The Federal Reserve is confirming that a big part of the liquidity crisis we're all dealing with right now, meaning there's not enough money to go around, is federal government borrowing, because, you know, they need more of those things that go bang and boom and, you know, knock very large holes in other people's property. Again, this was a symptom of the collapse of the Soviet Union. Over in China, they're really in trouble with this African swine fever. Up to 50% of China's breeding pigs have died. And of course, China is a major consumer of pork products. They're trying to buy as much as they can from the United States. That's being leveraged as part of a new trade deal. Really doesn't seem to be working right now. And I've got to be very honest, I think the United States of America ought to be thinking about hanging on to our food supplies for the American people. Because we're going to be in big, big trouble this winter. And that's something else that the Democrat candidates didn't even bother to mention during the debate. The fact that there might not be enough food for the American people, let alone the illegal immigrants going into next year. So now Trump had earlier in the week said there's kind of a deal light China that's about to happen, shot the stock market up. Turned out, no, China says there is no deal. They want more concessions from the United States, and the stock market went back down again today. So over at Target, the management there raised the wages of their employees due to activist pressure. And then to make up for it, they cut the hours. And this is not the first retailer we've seen do this. The money just isn't out there, guys. We were talking the other day about this expert over at J.P. Morgan saying we've got to find a way to get Americans to borrow and buy more. And note that they're talking about borrowing. They know we can't find the jobs to earn the money to buy the stuff we need to buy. But just put it on the plastic. It'll get taken care of somewhere down the road. I don't think so. I think we're headed for a big economic crash. The Democrats are going to blame it all on Donald Trump, but it's still not going to correct the problem that the American people, once again, due to the money junkies, the Federal Reserve, are going to get put through the economic ringer. Because that's the way it's set up to work. One generation works as hard as they can, and they build up some real assets, homes, businesses, whatever. Then the economy gets crashed, and the bankers come on in, and they repossess it all. And then they turn around and they sell it to the next generation after that all over again on credit. It's like this giant heartbeat that is continuing to pump the real wealth of this nation out of the hands of those whose labor created that wealth and into the pockets of these bankers. And all it cost them was colored ink and paper and numbers in a computer. That's it. That's all they put into this thing. Now, looking at the migration issue, Trump may have just ended chain migration and cut it by about 65%. Late Friday, Trump signed a proclamation, and it was basically implementing his advisor Stephen Miller's dreams of restricting legal immigration a reality. Now, this goes into effect on November 3rd. The proclamation will make getting into the U.S. much harder for immigrants sponsored by family members. The phenomenon Trump has excoriated as chain migration. You know, they get one person into the country and they get them on the track to citizenship, and then they turn around and say, oh, well, I've got all these cousins and nieces and nephews, and you know, they're all family, and we need to bring them in as well. So Trump has really ended that as well. And that's a good thing here. All righty, liberals are courting the illegal immigrant votes. They're considering ending citizenship fees in order to buy more immigrant votes. And as a little academic reminder to everybody out there, illegal immigrants aren't supposed to vote. But the Democrats are relying on that. That's why they fought in 2016 so hard to end all laws requiring the showing of ID Don't forget there's that video floating around from New York from 2016 where they were literally busing illegal immigrants from polling place to polling place to polling place so that they could even vote multiple times. It's just a big cheat and a big scam. And Trump has had 2.5 years to deal with this, and he failed to do it. And I know I'm going to get a phone call saying, well, look at all the things Trump has been dealing with. I'm sorry, he's the president. He wanted the job. And I have to tell you, I am not impressed. So, all right, out in California, they're sort of recovering from the latest round of wildfires and the power blackouts. And they're basically saying the main culprit, California's new blackout economy, is the mismanagement of water, forests, and electrical lines. Now, we know the issue with the electrical lines goes back to PG&E, just not spending the money to properly maintain these high-tension lines, make sure they got a good sag on them. Mismanagement of the forests, that goes back to the economy of spending money on war rather than on keeping fire breaks open and clearing up dead brush and controlled burns. They're doing a terrible job out there in California, in liberal land. By the way, apparently sexually transmitted diseases among infants is now up 900% in California. Just think about that for a minute here. Okay, getting on back to Sandy Hook. The jury has awarded Posner $450,000 for defamation by I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, James Fetzer must pay Leonard Posner $450,000. I don't know where he thinks he's going to get that. But as it turns out, the name of the book, Nobody Died at Sandy Hook, was not the problem. The judge identified 4 specific statements that he said were defamatory, including the one that Posner had fabricated a death certificate for his son. There's a really big bird out there. Okay. Over in Hugo Police Department, detectives Billy Jenkins and Chad Allen have been identified as the officers who opened fire on a vehicle driven by William Devone Smith, 21, whom they suspected of robbing a pizza shop. And there were children in the back seat, and 3 of them were shot in the head. Now, whatever happened to shooting out the tires? It's just absurd here. Okay, worn out flash memory is suddenly bricking Tesla cars. Tesla's got another problem here. And on the older Teslas, they've got this flash memory which is embedded in one of the control cards. Should be removable, replaceable, now knowing that they've got the problem. But apparently Tesla's computers are writing so many logs to this flash memory, it's literally wearing them out. And when the flash memory fails, the car's center console stops working. The car can be driven, but it won't charge the battery. So I've seen the Tesla up close, the first one. It's a beautiful car. It really is. And I do think electric cars are the wave of the future. But, I think we've reached a point where we are getting rather gratuitous with our implementation of computerizing everything. And maybe we should pull back and simplify, just for the sake of reliability. Just for the sake of reliability. Do we really need to have this computer system here doing this on the car, or the coffee pot, or the washing machine? And if we don't really need it, let's not do it. And maybe that's coming out of my personal bias here after dealing with Windows 10 and all of the issues of moving all of this equipment from Hawaii to here in Indiana. And I'm computerized out. I'm really computerized out. I miss the days when computers were actually fun. These days, it just seems like, everything's, it's no longer a matter of convenience. It's just another marketing gimmick. It's a selling point. This has a computer in there. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about computers, and technology has become decadent. It's more trouble than useful. And I was talking with David the other day, just saying about, we've hit this point where we spend more time trying to keep these machines working than they spend working for us. If you're a movie buff, and especially if you're my age, probably seen Fritz Metropolis, and it presented this upside down world, and of course it didn't have computers, but it had large mechanical machines, and they used humans to drive these machines around. So I don't mean drive like a car, literally grab the gears and turn it and push it and make it do what it was going to do. So I think maybe it's time for a general simplification. If it doesn't really need a computer, don't get one. I think in Frank Herbert's Dune, there's this concept of what was called the Butlerian Jihad, which is literally where there was a revolt against computers. And that's what led the Society of Dune to sort of return to something closer to Renaissance, except that they still had faster than light travel. Anyway, speaking of faster than light travel, and I got one of these things the other day here, this Forpes botnet has apparently made $115,000 in 5 months from these mass spammed sextortion emails. And apparently they're using this botnet. They're sending out like 30,000 of these per hour. And basically, the scam email comes on in and says, the last time you viewed porn, you downloaded this malware that I wrote that has been recording your pleasurable activities using your computer's camera. And unless you send me whatever in Bitcoin, I will send this split screen video of what you are watching and what you're doing while you're watching it. And apparently they made $115,000. Now, first of all, when you're dealing with somebody of my age, this thing isn't going to happen anyway. But what really amazes me is apparently how many people fell for this. Now, apparently these campaigns have run in literally the millions of emails. 27 million in one case. So not that many people are falling for it, but apparently enough are to pay for it all. All right, we got to take a break here for station identification. Please join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
Muted, Mike. Can you hear me? You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. Trying to do too many things at the same time here. All right, so I want to backtrack to this issue of the illegal immigrants voting in the election, which they should not be doing. And so Steve Elkins sent me this flashback article from WorldNet Daily, which includes a video of Barack Obama encouraging illegal immigrants to vote. Now, that's a crime. It's a Title VIII violation at the very, very least. It's election fraud. So basically in this interview, he says there will be no repercussions if they vote illegally. All right, getting on back to other stuff here. Talking about computers, we're talking about this Forpus botnet made $115,000 in 5 months by sending out these emails saying, we have surreptitiously recorded you watching porn and doing what you tend to do when you watch porn. And we also copied off all of your contacts. And if you don't send us the ransom, then we are going to email this out to everybody that you know. And like I said, it kind of is a little surprising and disheartening how many people fell for this thing. Gosh, it makes me think I'm on the wrong line of work, you know? So, and here is a little point. I myself personally have got nothing against, a person's viewing habits. If they want to look at porn, that's fine. But in this day and age, in this jungle that the internet has become, visiting any porn website is an open invitation to have your machine hacked. Now, there's a lot of porn websites that are out there saying free porn. It's not free. They want you to hit that little click button so that they can get into your machine. And you've got to be dumb to do that. Sorry, but you do. Days like this, I miss Penthouse Magazine. Penthouse Magazine wouldn't infect your computer. We actually have a caller on the line here. James and Charlotte, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, I got on immediately there.
You're our first caller today.
Oh, really? Well, great. Yeah. Well, I'll try and make it interesting. You hit on a topic just a couple of minutes ago that really bugs me. You were talking about how everything is becoming computerized. And along with that, I guess really hand in hand with that is something that just bugs me to death is the built-in unrepairability of everything today.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely nothing. Well, I would say other than a car, I don't know of anything really today that can be repaired. And
well, you know, it's kind of interesting. There's been talk about right to repair laws being passed in several states. It hasn't really happened. But even today, modern cars, they're not designed for their owners, drivers, to do much more than maybe change a spark plug or put antifreeze in there. And, you know, you're encouraged to take them to the manufacturer's authorized mechanic, which is just another way of making money off of what was going on. I remember when we had our Xterra and it developed a leak underneath one of the valve covers, little oil leak. So having been a gearhead in my youth, I figured just, you know, take the valve cover off, put a new valve gasket in there, and you're done. It turned out that for that particular model of the car, the both valve gaskets and the head gasket were all one unit. So you had to go down to the approved mechanic, and they literally had to tear the top half of the engine off to fix this little tiny oil leak. And the idea is, you know, they don't want you to repair what you have because they don't make money off of that. They want you to buy the latest whiz-bang gadget. It goes through its planned obsolescence cycle, and then you toss it and you buy the next one. And what really annoys me is you have all these environmental wackos running around screaming about save the environment, save the environment, save the environment, and they absolutely will not talk about just how destructive to the environment and wasteful this particular model of commerce happens to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Another example I can give you, a friend of mine, right now, I was visiting him a couple of weeks ago, and we got to talking about exactly this thing, and he has got, as of right now, he has got 5 flat screen computer monitors stacked up in his closet that have gone bad.
Yes.
And I've got 2, and I have found there's only 2 places I know of in the entire state that will even accept these to be repaired. And one person I called that used to take them in to be repaired, he said, forget it. I'm not taking these in anymore. We can't get the parts out of China. And that's it. They can't be repaired. And they're just full of toxic material.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing, what are you going to do? Put them in a landfill and you know, poison the groundwater with them? You know, what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, there's a lot of places where it's actually illegal to dispose of this kind of equipment through the regular landfills. And when Claire and I lived in Oahu, we were part of a charity program called Hawaii's Computers for Kids. And we ran it together with CompUSA. And every once in a while, we would have a big collection day where people would bring over their old used up computer equipment. They'd get a store credit for it. We'd refurbish it and make it available to schools and churches. But that was back in the days when you could physically open up the box, swap cards if you needed to, replace cables if you needed to. But you're absolutely right. The way they're designed right now, I mean, they're designed to be assembled and built by robots. And they get slapped together really kind of fast. But it's like, you know, the other day we had to replace the battery in Claire's cell phone. And I mean, just looking inside that thing, it's not something humans are meant to do.
Yeah. You're mentioning cell phones. I had to. I got another cell phone not long ago. Not even a smartphone, mind you. And the manual for that is 128 pages long.
Sounds about right.
Stupid little cell phone. It's just unbelievable, and it looks like it's only going to get worse. I don't know.
It really is, and of course, you know, if you don't read that manual and something goes wrong, well, that voids your warranty. And I know when we got our newer car after the Honda got stolen and everything, the instruction manual for that is something like 300 pages long. And it's like, by the time you finish reading the manual, it's time to, resell the car and retire.
Yeah. Usually you get several manuals now when you buy a car. I know a friend of mine got a Subaru, and I think she got 4 or 5 separate manuals with it.
Yeah. Well, that's because so many of these cars are now being made from components that are bought from other providers where, Audi will provide the engine, they'll get the transmission from this other company, they'll get the frame from over here. I mean, if you're really into cars, there's a show over on Amazon Prime called Grand Tour. I think they've been renewed for another season, where they talk about how these cars are being built. And for old-time gearheads, it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot. It's a fun show. I recommend it highly. But they don't want you to fix things. And by the way, we went through the same thing that you're going through. We've discovered that the people who moved us here to Indiana destroyed the flat panel computer display in Claire's computer. So we had to replace that. And it's just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, this weekend I'm putting my office back together, and I'm living in fear of the first time I try and power the system up.
Well, I appreciate you letting me get it off my chest today. I just, it's something that just frustrates me endlessly.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go, and we're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, you're talking about robot assembly lines. If anybody wants to see the most incredible assembly line with robotics, you got to look at the Porsche, that Taycan electric car they came out with. I never seen anything like it. I mean, it is a work of art. If anybody looks on YouTube on that video, I mean, it's amazing, like the robotics involved in this assembly line. I mean, I don't know how much the car costs. It's obviously out of my range, like the Tesla, but like, it's a really amazing. Germany's, I tell you, Mike, they got their act together when it comes to.
Well, they always have had. I mean, they've always prided themselves on their education system and the skill sets acquired by their young people. That's why at the end of World War II, everybody was out there trying to grab the German scientists because they knew these guys knew things nobody else on Earth did, like how to get to the moon.
Hey, Mike, before I talk about Turkey and stuff, did you mention the movie Metropolis?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like my top 5 movie. If people never saw that, watch it. It's black and white. They got a musical version where it's like got Adam Ant.
Don't do that. You go back to the original black and white, directed by Fritz Lang. And what's really kind of amazing is, considering when this was made, and considering the openness of the German culture, there's a lot of skin being shown around. And it made the girl playing the robot that was designed and built to mislead the revolution. It made her like an overnight star.
Yeah, and that was made in the 1920s. They lost a lot of footage. They had a fire at the theater, right, I believe. And they found footage, so they pieced it back together on the Blu-ray one later on, like in the last couple of years. And I recommend to your listeners, watch it. It's about the haves and the have-nots. That's what the movie's about revolting against the upper class, because the people who did all the work lived underground, and all the rich people lived above the ground, enjoying the fruits of the people who worked underground's labor. And it's like now, where people live in penthouses or they live in these giant they tend to look down on the little people, just like the kings and queens living in castles. So nothing's changed, like throughout history, So moving on to Syria, and Putin, Erdogan talked to Putin. So I mean, there's already been a deal made with this whole with Turkey and Russia and this and Mike, I don't know if you heard this. There was like a report that 3 C-17 Globemaster cargo planes, was headed toward the vicinity of Turkey. So I don't know how big those are and how big the B-61s is, but is 3 cargo planes enough to carry like 50 B-61? Because
I don't think they're big enough. No, they're considered tactical / strategic because they're variable yield. But yeah, the C-17 is a big airplane, and I don't think they're going to take out all 50 at the same time. But yeah, obviously an air convoy has been started, and that's a good thing. I would be very concerned about Erdogan grabbing one of those nuclear warheads.
Mike, like I said the other day, or the day before yesterday, it was we slapped them in the face. Like that's what the Turkish people, that part of the world looks at that. People don't realize Incirlik Turkey is like, you got the Sea of Bosphorus. That's a very serious, not as strategic as Turkey. I'd say Turkey is like that's the most strategic place. If we get booted out of Incirlik, they bring the Russians in. Which I don't have a problem with that, because we should only be in our own country. We should not have no bases like that around the world.
We've got almost 800 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where all the money goes. And well, not only that, but we pay them, right? We pay them the least so that's taxpayers' money, which could be better off going to back here, paying for infrastructure and stuff.
Yes.
So, but see, more people are interested in, global hegemony than I just was listening to a radio station yesterday about how MTA in New York is like, they're talking about, they're dead. They're deadbeats. They're debt. Their debt is too much. So I'm like, the whole country and the people and the corporations are just filled with too much debt.
Yes.
But they said, but their bonds, Moody's says their bonds are okay. Moody's, but
yes,
it's all a rigged game, because I know, wasn't GM like reduced to like junk status? No, that was Ford, right? They got reduced to junk status, like their bonds. But all of it is like debt filled. How long do you think this is going to last with the debt?
I'm surprised it's still going on. I got to be very, very honest. At some point, the rapidly accumulating debt has to overwhelm the system. And I'm noticing that other countries' economic ministries are now openly talking about a complete global reset of the financial system. Now, I don't know what it is they're intending with that, whether they're going to shove socialism down our throats. But yeah, it's very obvious the United States has mismanaged its economy to the edge of a cliff. They owe too much money. They have destroyed the means of production by which Americans could even have a prayer of paying off that debt. And I admire the engineering that goes into the robots that are building things like the Porsche, but we've got to get people to work. People have to be able to trade their skills and labor for decent wages and salaries to fuel the consumer economy, because that expert from JP Morgan was saying consumer spending is the only thing holding what's left of our economy together.
And Germany ain't doing so well right now. Nobody's doing well. A lot of it's being masked, like especially here. Yeah, everything's being masked over. All right, Mike, have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Ralph in Santa Maria, California. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi. I ran across the article about stopping 5G, and I completely agree with it. We have to look forward to 6G, which is now on the horizon. There are companies out there. There is a young man, Mike Philippi, in Manapilly, Manipilly, Manapilly, who's advertising on the internet about the radio frequency chip. Well, that's a 6G chip. The real thing is that those chips all need software. And there's a company, a small little company that makes the software, which makes your cell phone 10 times more powerful. And that little company is called CIDA, and its initials are CYCA, to give them a plug. But that's and they have a compression technology and whatever that means, and they're able to work with robots. Okay, thank you.
All right, Ralph, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We have another caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We're going to go back to the phones to in Arizona. Aloha, Gil. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. You're talking to an old TV repairman that's out of business now because you can't fix them anymore.
That's true.
Here's a tip that Yeah.
I used to,
Here's a tip
I used to
that
really
people.
enjoy using that tube testing machine down at the drugstore. When the TV would
Oh
start
yeah.
acting up, oh, pull out all those tubes, take them on down and test them. That was fun.
Well, 1958, my first color RCA TV had 42 tubes in it. Anyway,
That's about right.
here's a tip that.
That's about right.
Yep.
We got our
Exactly.
first. We got our first color TV because our black and white TV got struck by lightning.
Oh wow. Here's a real good tip for somebody shopping for a TV. A few months back, I went to buy a 32-inch television for the bedroom, and I went to one of the big box stores. And there's three 32-inch TVs on the shelf. One is $129. Picture wasn't so good. And then the one for $129 was a real off-brand. And then there's the two big name brands. One was $179. The other one was $219. The $179 in the middle was not as good, but the $219 was absolutely good, great picture. So I asked the salesman, I says, let me see the remote control for that cheap TV. You know what they did? They had the contrast and brightness turned down on the cheap TV, and it didn't look as good. I adjusted it, looked at as the picture was just as a good quality as the more expensive, $100 more expensive TV. So anybody that's shopping for TV, don't go by what the picture looks like. Ask the guy for the remote control and you adjust it yourself. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, that's good advice. That's absolutely good advice. You know something? I would not have thought of that, but you're absolutely right. They're going to be pushing the higher end, more expensive product, and you know they're going to try and set things up. So that's what people want to buy here, and as long as you have a protection plan or a decent warranty, the off brands are not a problem because it's really all the same components in there. They're all being imported from the same factories, more in Vietnam than China these days. But they are going to wear out. That's just an ugly reality, or they're going to get dropped and ruined by your movers. And you just have to deal with that. What is really kind of interesting, though, is the push into newer functionality for the TVs, like the smart TV. That's a good example of not computerizing something that doesn't need a computer. When I buy a TV, I want to watch TV. I don't want this thing constantly popping up saying the Smart Hub is now refreshing and going to a bunch of stuff that I'm never going to use. Really.
Right.
So,
well, I had a friend, you know, I'm 79. I had a 85-year-old friend that bought one of these smart TVs. He had to return it, couldn't use it. He didn't understand anything about it. You know, it's hey, give me the old-fashioned stuff. But anyway, I thought some of your listeners might find that interesting. Ask the salesman for the remote control and adjust it yourself. Okay, thanks, Mark. You have a good one.
All right, thanks an awful lot. I mean, I like the picture, obviously, on the newer TVs. You know, the last time we bought our main living room TV was actually under a service plan. Our previous TV failed literally with 3 days left to go on the extended warranty. They couldn't get parts to fix it. They couldn't get a replacement. So they said, just come on, pick out a whole new TV. And they gave us one with the 3D glasses, which I think we've used a total of maybe 4 times. It does enhance, let's see, okay. I mean, it does enhance shows like Avatar, which is still my favorite movie. And I think that was a good use of 3D. There's a lot of horrible 3D out there where they just stick things at you just for the gratuitous thing. And of course, now the big push is 4K TV. Okay. And at Claire and my age, we can't tell the difference between 4K and 1080p. So anyway, all right, let's see. We're coming up here on another break, and I'm being nagged that the auto brightness on my camera is making a bunch of adjustments all by itself. And that may have to do with my sitting directly underneath the light. So let me turn that light off and see if that improves things on this next commercial break here. We're going to start with Peter in Los Angeles. And Peter, I'm going to have to take you through this next commercial break. What's on your mind?
You know, Mike, I'm reading over the website and reflecting on a couple of books I've read recently, and I want to talk about denunciation and how where that's come in our society and how.
Going to put you on hold. Going to put you on hold. Do not hang up. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're talking with Peter in Los Angeles. And Peter, what's on your mind today?
Well, Mike, I was thinking about denunciation and what part that plays in our society now. And
yes.
Give me just a second to tie a couple things in. You had an article the other day about a guy who was a 68-year-old guy who was tagged veteran, tagged with the red flag laws, and denounced by somebody that overheard him talking about something in a restaurant, had all his guns taken away. That was in California.
Yep.
Of course, there's no proof or anything like that. Then I'm thinking, well, how about the Kavanaugh thing, where he was denounced by somebody who said something happened back in 1983 at some party when he was 17 or something. And then you think about the denunciations of the lady who just said that Trump was with a phone call. Turned out she wasn't even in the White House for the phone call. She was a Soros employee for 6 years. Another denunciation there. There are all these things that are happening that just go on and on, and it's taking a person can be. There are occasions where men are being denounced by the Me Too people and they lose their careers without even any kind of proof that it happened.
Yeah.
Or and people are politically being denounced all the time, and people with real crimes they're not even looking at. Like
no, they're not.
Hillary and the uranium one and all that stuff.
And we're being encouraged to join the hive mind, which is that when somebody comes on out and says, oh, this person groped me, we're all supposed to say, oh, what a horrible thing. It must have happened, because we have to believe when we are told these things. And no, we don't. I mean, we know that political denunciation is a potent weapon, and we know what happens. People in politics, people in corporate leadership, they're liars. I'm sorry. I wish the human race were more honorable, if you will, but they're not. We were talking about that guy who had run the CIA and said, we lie, cheat, and steal. Really? Do you think that makes you unique, that you are not, just another part of the human race?
And Mike, I was watching something about the other day about the show trials of the 30s in the Soviet Union, where people were being denounced for nothing, or in our lifetime, when we were in our teenage years, the Cultural Revolution in China, where something like 40 million of people in China were killed, and there were mass denunciations and all that sort of thing. If there were any trials at all,
the French Revolution.
The French Revolution. And I want to point out that off the top of my head, the people who are being denounced are almost all white males, just as an observation.
Yes.
It's hard to find people who aren't white males who are being denounced. And there's no jurisprudence here at all.
No.
And it seems
no due
to
process, no requirement to prove. We've returned to the Code Napoleon, where you are presumed guilty. You can prove that you are innocent, and that's not the way that it was set up.
Yeah, and it's all driven by the media that echoes and echo chambers all this stuff, and it even ties in with what the Project Veritas thing was saying about CNN and the way they're doing their business. But the media is driving a lot of this. I mean, they give the coverage to the people who are shouting them down, like the kids who were in front of the Capitol building from Kentucky, who that Indian guy who turned out was a remember that? The kids from Covington, Kentucky, and all that kind of thing. I remember. All that was covered from their point of view, and not the kids who were just, their crime was being, frankly, their crime was being white kids. And conservative white kids.
Yes.
There's nothing else. And they were pilloried, but it's really, really, it's hysterical almost, really. It's almost an induced hysteria.
Yes. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. The goal here is for everybody to move as a herd, to suspend their critical thinking facilities, to suspend doubt and suspicion. They're trying to basically reassert their ability to lie to us all with impunity. We took that away from them with the internet and the independent media. I mean, going back and looking at history before the internet was available, we're discovering this kind of stuff has been going on all along. And they got away with it, and they thought it was great. They thought it was their divine right, whether it was the Kennedy assassination or who knows what all else. And we took that away from them, starting with Vince Foster. No, we, the American people, will no longer believe what the government and the corporate media is telling us because you lie to us so much.
You know, Mike, I have an ongoing, it's really driven a wedge through my family. My sister is a PhD, and she believes everything the New York Times and everything that the West Side of Manhattan is cool to say in cocktail parties. That's basically what she believes. All right. And there was, and she quotes the New York Times and the corporate media like it was biblical. And I keep saying, today there was that article where somebody from CNN had denounced Tulsi Gabbard as being a Russian spy. And
the New York Times did that
and
too.
CNN, yes, that's right. And CNN, the CNN guy said it, and I sent that tape and all that to my sister, and I said, what do you think, man? Is she a spy or what? It's just the most ridiculous stuff, but that's what passes for normal fare now. You can denounce somebody, and so all these people they don't like, that they're politics, it's being guided by the media and the deep state, in my opinion.
And people are getting suckered in by their own egos. Okay, because they want to feel they're on top of things. They want to feel they have a good bead on current events, but they don't want to invest the time and effort into actually finding out. So they sit back and they look at CNN or the New York Times or whatever else is in front of them and say, yes, okay, that's what's going on. That's what I choose to believe today. I'm informed. I'm cultured. I'm sophisticated. And, they get to feel good about themselves without really having a reason to. Without recognizing their own intellectual laziness.
Another one, I sent you, I think I sent it to you, a video of something that happened in Minneapolis where there was some guy, looks like you or me, about our age, wearing a MAGA hat, speaking, and somebody came up and spit on him. Some Antifa guy came up and spit on him right in front of the camera. And then a little later at the same rally, another perfectly, behaving herself sort of middle-aged or white lady, somebody came up and actually punched her for wearing the hat. Now, these are Antifa people, by the way, another George Soros person, organization. We know that George Soros is connected with the CIA, right?
Yes, we know that. This is brown shirt behavior. People who are old enough to remember the rise of the Nazis should recognize Antifa represents the brown shirts.
Yep, that's exactly right. And they're taking our discourse away. They're taking all that's being taken away.
Yes.
We're now denunciation and baseless charges echoed by a controlled media and a controlled intelligence system, It's really scary, Mike. So
it is very scary.
Anyway. Well, just a little food for thought, Mike. I've got to go pick up my daughter from tennis practice.
Okay. Well, happy tennis.
All right, man. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Okay. Getting on back to this whole issue about the porn botnet and the sextortion. And like I said, I'm getting more spam and scammers over my internet and cell phone connections than I get real meaningful traffic, and it just shouldn't really be that way. And I don't care what your tastes are regarding pornography, but you are an idiot if you go to any pornography website, especially one that says we're going to show you free stuff, because they're going to use it to infect your machine. They really, really are. And that's why I miss Penthouse magazine so much, because it doesn't wreck your electronics when you read Penthouse. Okay, speaking of porn, Britain's dropping their porn ban. Remember, they had this plan. They were going to make users prove they were over 18 to view adult content. And there was such a backlash from websites and concerns over privacy that Britain has dropped that plan. And I think that was probably the smart thing to do. Some politician made a lot of points off of it. But the reality is, when you're online, how do you prove how old you are to the satisfaction of the guy at the other end? You just click a box, yes, I'm over 18. I am not a robot. It was never really going to work anyway. All right, this story should upset you. Certainly upset me. This is from naturalnews.com. And it starts out with the revelation that the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, is also now sounding the alarm about vaccine-induced illness, warning that polio vaccines have the potential to infect people with polio. This actually started last year, where this children were getting the polio vaccine, and all of a sudden they came down with what looked like polio, and the medical establishment said, "Don't call it polio. It's acute flaccid myelitis. It's polio-like, but it's not polio." They can't have polio. They had the polio vaccine. So the UN is now out there saying that, yes, polio vaccines are infecting people with polio. But if you say the same thing on your Vimeo account, you will be shadow banned or removed from the platform entirely. And so what you are seeing is, and it's all big money, big pharma money. They're pushing these medications. They charge a bloody fortune for them, and that gives them enough money to go on out to these media corporations and say, "Look, come, let's make a deal. We're going to make such a deal. We're going to make here. We're going to buy your top management. They're all going to get new Ferraris as long as you will protect what's going on here." So you've got YouTube and Google and Facebook and Vimeo are now complicit in this covering up of the fact that there has been a horrible, horrible mistake made with the polio vaccine and other vaccines as well. We're talking about children's lives at risk. Children, schmildren, we need to make sure our stockholders are happy on this next quarter here. I saw this article, Google is worthless now. And it harkens back to a time when Google really did work as a search engine. And today, it's all filtered. Worse than that, you get ads. You search for something, the first page is all going to be paid advertisement. And very often you can search for things that are on the web, Google won't find. Now, because my main machine is not up and running, I don't have access to my image library. So the other day, I went to use Google to basically try and locate one of my ClimateGate images. And I got results that were completely irrelevant to the climate, completely irrelevant to whatreallyhappened.com. Google has paralyzed itself. Now, as you know, there's been this Google whistleblower who has now sadly lost his job. And this Project Veritas. And he's asking a legitimate question. Are we going to just let the biggest tech companies in America decide who wins every election from now on? Because if we're going to do that, why bother having the election? Just get these CEOs from these 5 or 6 companies together and, they'll go down to the bar and hoist a few and say, "Oh, I like Ann Warren. I like Warren. Let's go with Warren. Hate Tulsi Gabbard. Let's go with Warren." Now, to me, that's a pretty reckless way to run a country. It's a reckless way to run a company, which may be why the service that we're getting from these companies is deteriorating here. But apparently, Never Trumper Ben Shapiro and others were meeting with Zuckerberg for private dinners while Facebook pillaged all pro-Trump websites, literally erased them, unpersoned them, have been disappeared, to borrow the parlance from South America here. Alrighty, 500 experts have signed a declaration that there is, in fact, no climate emergency. In fact, a lot of people are saying, where is all this global warming? I mean, we're seeing the massive blizzards in the Midwest that are going to wreck our farming economy in that part of the country. Record-setting cold everywhere. Where's the global warming? It's out there. It's hiding at the bottom of the ocean. They actually said that at one point. That the Earth was warming, it felt cooler. The winters were cooler because the heat was hiding in the bottom of the ocean. And my response to that is, have you ever heard of something called convection? Warm water rises to the top. Cold water sinks. Apparently, some parts of Greenland are now so cold, it is interfering with the reproduction of certain plants and animals. And Niels Martin Schmidt of Aarhus University in Denmark is saying, if it's a one-time event, it's not that big a deal. But if this turns out to be something that's going on a regular basis, we're looking at some massive extinction events here. And by the way, speaking of global warming and just how broiling hot it's been, Vancouver has had its coldest October 10th in 123 years. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure. Fingers and or toes often go cold. Arms and or legs often go to sleep. Sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe. Short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be. Ankles swell late in the day. Chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And Aloha America, welcome back to our show here. And Claire is actually in her office looking at the news and posting a few things. And she put up some articles that she felt we should probably cover today rather than waiting until tomorrow. Now, one of the big news stories, of course, is that Trump has demanded that Turkey immediately call for a ceasefire in Syria. And Turkey told Trump to basically go pout sand. But apparently, Donald Trump is still trying to salvage the situation. And let's be honest. Okay, I want to be clear here. Okay, I love the idea of our troops coming home. I love the idea of slashing the Pentagon's budget by about at least 90% and letting the American people have their money back to build better schools and infrastructure and so forth. I'm all in favor of that. But Trump mishandled the situation. He guessed wrong on what Erdogan's reaction was going to be, and it's going to cost him. It's going to cost him. So apparently, when Turkey invaded Syria, Donald Trump wrote to Erdogan saying, don't be a tough guy. And Trump is still promising that he can get concessions from the Kurds. No, you can't. You stabbed them in the back. They're not going to listen to you anymore. And he's out there saying, history will see Erdogan as the devil if he attacks. I really don't think so. I think the horns are located a little more closely to home. Okay. The U.S. is deeply concerned that China continues to buy Iran oil. How dare you buy oil from people we don't like? What's wrong with you, Chinese people? Now, Russian patrols right now are blocking conflict between the Turkish and Syrian armies. It looks like Putin, the statesman, once again, stepping in to try and calm things down. I think Putin should get the Peace Prize. Forget about this Greta Thunberg and the rest of it, this global warming nonsense here. Putin deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he should get it. I'm not in a position to nominate him. You have to be a previous winner of the Nobel Peace Prize to actually submit an official nomination. But if I were, Putin would definitely get it here. Anyway, Assad's key advisor is out there telling Russia today that a Turkish invasion actually creates better conditions for Islamic State terrorists because of the chaos it creates. And he's absolutely correct on that, because ISIS is able to use the chaos to restructure, rebuild, which is what certain interests within the Pentagon would like to see happen. All right, this is interesting here. Apparently, an Israeli defense engineer reveals why the Saudi defenses failed to stop the Aramco attacks. It's always been something that's been a bit of a head scratcher, where whatever was fired at that, oh my goodness. We're station identification break. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero? The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. And one of the big questions, and again, our corporate media doesn't ask this. It's too embarrassing, really. How is it that whatever attacked that Saudi refinery blew right past all of this U.S. supplied weaponry? And apparently this Israeli defense engineer has sort of figured out what was going on. First of all, he says that the Patriot systems, which were protecting refineries, have a low efficiency against drone swarm attacks. And basically, former director of the Israel Missile Defense Organization, Uzi Rubin, has revealed in an interview with the defense news media outlet that Saudi air defenses, namely Patriot missile systems, failed to repel the combined drone and missile attack on the country's oil facilities due to the aerial assailants flying below the horizon. A situation the Patriots are not prepared to deal with. Apparently, the Patriot aims its radar above the horizon because that's where the incoming threat is supposed to be. What do you mean fly below the horizon? You're not allowed to do that. Ever hear of Doppler radar? It's used in military aircraft. Look down, shoot down radar systems. That caller we had on yesterday is right. The Patriot is 2 generations old. And the United States government is out there trying to arm twist countries to buy the Patriot instead of the S-400 and the now coming online S-500. It's like the U.S. government is out there trying to sell Edsels, countries that want to buy the Porsche. Anyway, Erdogan is planning to visit the Russian Black Sea resort of Sochi to meet with Putin on the 22nd. Yeah, guess what, Donald? Turkey is now going into the Russian orbit. We could lose Turkey as a NATO ally, which to me is not such a big loss. God, they have botched this up so bad. Well, you know, look at what's going on here. This whole thing with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. People are getting promotions. They're getting into these positions of power and influence because they've got the family connections. You've got the family name here. I remember the movie Top Gun, which is one of my favorite movies here. And Tom Cruise is being ripped up one side and down the other by the commander of the air group on board the carrier where he's serving, is saying, you know, your family name ain't the best in the Navy. I'm sorry. I don't think we should be running the U.S. military under the rules of heraldry, but that's just me. I'm silly that way. What can I tell you? Article coming on out here. U.S. sanctions could push Turkey to leave NATO. So long. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Apparently, Warren has deleted the tweet where she brags about being a Native American. Okay, well, good for that. It's not going to go away. It's definitely not going to go away because we will not let it go away. We in the independent media are going to keep that one alive. Now, I think Joe Biden is a wreck. I think he is too old to be president here. But Warren lied to us all. She lied about being Native American. She used that status to obtain special advantages. You know, she refused a DNA test for the longest time, and when the DNA test came on back, I mean, I've got more Native American blood in me than Elizabeth Warren does. Goes back to an incident that happened in the 1600s. Little story here. Some of my ancestors were traveling from Boston to Concord, New Hampshire. It was a 2-day trip. And so they had this Huron Indian guide. And so obviously halfway through, they make camp for the night. They're sitting there, there's a fire going. And one of my female ancestors is there, who was notorious for hard of hearing. Couldn't really hear. So the Huron guide turns to her and says, well, you want to go to sleep or what? She goes, what? That's why I have Huron blood in me. But I'm not running for political office, so it doesn't really matter. All right, we're talking about human-caused global warming, which does not exist. Vancouver just had their coldest October 10th in 123 years. Don't tell me the planet is warming up, or I'll get grouchy. Don't make me grouchy. You wouldn't like me when I'm grouchy. Ask Claire. Article out of Investment Watch blog, climate change scientists lie about everything by cherry-picking different time windows for every study, graph, or news announcement. And yes, they do. And Al Gore got caught doing it himself in his mockumentary. Oh, we got a caller on the line. All right, let me finish this thing about Al Gore. In his mockumentary about Inconvenient Truth, he reversed the growth charts for CO2 and global temperature to make it look like increasing carbon dioxide warmed the Earth. The reverse was actually true. When you zoomed into the scale, you found that the Earth warmed first, and then, because of increased bioactivity, it produced more carbon dioxide. See, makes sense. This is why I wish they would emphasize science education in school a lot more here. All right, we have a caller on the line. Rick and Arizona. Aloha, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Rick, are you there? I'm not hearing a Rick. All right, okay, well, I don't know. Moving along here. Now, as you're probably already aware, there's this young lady from Sweden, Greta Thunberg. She's this Swedish child climate activist. And those people who are seeking to part you from your money, they love children. Children are great at getting you to let go of your money, to let go of your authorities, let go of your freedoms. Oh, it's for the children. We really must. Well, it turns out that this Greta Thunberg is actually linked in with Al Gore and his people. She's just another tool. She's willing to go along with it because it means world travel and world fame. See, I wouldn't do that. I've already had the world travel and the world fame because of my various career choices. But there are people out there who, for the sake of a little attention in the media, they can be convinced to say and do anything. Okay, did we get Rick in Arizona back? Apparently not. All righty, this is not a very pleasant story. Okay. Rick, are you there?
Yeah, I just got done talking to your operator. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, and good thing because I was about to put your face on a milk carton.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just, for some reason, but yeah, I just got to make a couple of
It's
comments.
American
we're talking about that
technology.
Saudi. Yeah, Matt's probably Skype. What we got to consider with this Saudi Arabia attack is they could have just as well strapped some explosives to those refineries and blew them up, and there was no attack because the end result was they got 3,000 troops and more Patriot missiles. I'm suspicious on anything that happens in the Middle East. They could very well just have blown them up themselves, and that's how they bypassed their radar. As far as what's going on with, I almost lost my train of thought here. As far as Trump, what the hell was I going to say now? It's really ticking me off.
Don't use bad words on this here radio. We'll get in trouble with the FCC.
Oh. Yeah. Well, one thing I can say about Trump is a Trump voter is kind of like a battered woman. You tell her what she wants to hear, and she comes right back to you.
Not in my case.
I was going to talk about the guy from Brazil.
Not in my case.
Who's
lost
that guy
me.
from Brazil? Yeah.
Yeah, Mike from Brazil.
That guy from Brazil that called in. Yeah, he was saying the same thing I was saying about some of these lawsuits, like Fetzer's lawsuit, claiming that he's getting sued by Posner. All a lawyer has to do is, in discovery, say you produce the official crime scene photos of those dead kids at Sandy Hook, okay, and you'll win your case, okay? But there is no crime scene photos because there are no dead kids.
Talking about Posner's supposed 6-year-old son, and again, Wolfgang and Fetzner were not allowed their own jury. The jury was only brought in to decide the award, which of course was gigantic. And they're conducting lawfare against anybody who challenges the official story on anything.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say what's going on here. I don't even know if there's lawsuits in action here. I mean, Alex Jones claims he's getting sued, but I'm totally convinced there are no dead kids. There's no dead kids, and there's no pictures. There's no crime scene photos. You have no case. So I don't really know what's going on here. I don't know who to believe here anymore. But unless you,
we live in a government that lies, cheats, and steals to get its way. And I grew up believing that there was a justice system. I grew up believing that the guilty were punished and the innocent were protected. And I learned the hard way during the Vince Foster case that is certainly not what happens. Okay? That those who try and do the right thing, see something, say something. We've all heard that expression. That's exactly what I did. And it destroyed the life that I had worked to build. Okay. And that's why instead of being in Hollywood or Munich or Rome, I'm here in the wilds of Indiana.
Yeah. Well, look, a jury's not going to fly for that crap. I mean, if you're getting sued for real lots of money, you get a jury trial. You don't drop it into the hands of a judge. You get a jury trial. If somebody's suing you for any kind of money, you get a jury.
They were denied a jury trial.
I don't know what Fetzer's doing getting a... No, that can't happen. My brother-in-law's attorney. My brother-in-law's an attorney. I talked to him about this. He says there's something wrong with this lawsuit. You cannot
Of course there's something wrong with it.
Deadly wrong with it.
There is something wrong with it because the government is going to do whatever they want to do to make the point they're trying to make. And they didn't even bring in a jury until it was time to decide on an award, of $450,000. I mean, that's utterly ridiculous, But again, we have to understand. Fetzner made some statements that could be considered defamatory, and that's what he got sued for. He didn't get sued for the entire book. He didn't get sued for the book's title, that nobody died at Sandy Hook. Basically, it all came down to his claim that the death certificate for Posner's child was a forgery. Now, that itself was never put to the test.
Yeah, well, anyhow, that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for taking my call, Mike.
All right, you got it here. Thank you very much for the phone call. Boy, it's getting dark out there. Alrighty, and we knew this was going to happen. Typhoon Hagibis has hit Japan, and over at this temporary storage facility that was containing some of the bags of radioactive contaminants from the Fukushima meltdown were inundated by floodwaters. And 2,667 radioactive bags have been swept away into the Pacific Ocean. Well, actually into a stream 100 meters away, and from there to the Pacific Ocean. And so far, they've only recovered 6 of the bags. What a mess that they have made there. All right, we talked about this earlier in the week, but we're going to talk about it again. We're coming up on Halloween. And Halloween is a time of year where you dress up and you pretend to be things that maybe you're not during the rest of the year. I have a Dracula outfit, and I have this wonderful mountain man outfit, and I have this pirate outfit that I really like. But of course, already the social justice warriors are out there saying, no, you can't do this. You're going to offend somebody. And, nobody was offended when we dressed up for Halloween when I was a kid. Nobody cared. They would admire the costume and they'd say, here, have a treat. So apparently, starting over at Michigan State University, an institution of higher indoctrination, they're already out there saying that you will not be allowed to wear certain offensive costumes because we can't allow anybody, anywhere on planet Earth, or indeed the entire solar system, to be offended. Apparently, an elementary school in the Chicago suburb of Evanston announced they're canceling Halloween altogether. Forget it. It's not going to happen. Concerns that children who did not celebrate the holiday would be offended by the costumes and the spooky treats. This is from the North Cook News. Well, what about, is the next target going to be Christmas itself? Because not every child celebrates Christmas. You've got the Jews are selling Hanukkah, celebrating Hanukkah, rather. You've got the Muslims celebrating, I don't actually know what the Muslims celebrate, but it isn't Christmas. So what are you going to do? You're going to cancel Christmas? It's right out of Kevin Costner's Robin Hood. We're canceling Christmas. Apparently, a Wisconsin school followed suit, calling Halloween inappropriate and not inclusive. And they banned parades, parties, and costume wearing in school. Supervisors at the school district claimed that the holiday made certain children feel excluded and highlighted inequalities. Well, I got a news flash for you. We're not all equal, and you can't make us equal. We are each and every one of us a unique individual, a product of our genetic heritage and our life experience. And we're not all going to run around saying, I'm equal to everybody else to please the liberals, because you can't make them happy anyway. Apparently over in Scotland, one school swapped out Halloween for the autumn dance. And concerns that forcing kids to purchase Halloween costumes to wear to school would put a strain on family budgets. When I was a kid, you didn't buy Halloween costumes. You made them. You'd get some old rags out. You'd get needle and thread. Make your own costumes. It's just insane here. All righty. So anyway, Michigan State University leads the way this year, saying that, you can't do this, you can't do that, we can't afford to offend anybody. Well, I'm offended by Michigan State University. That's it. I'm offended by the Michiganders. So they released their rules late last week, and they've got posters across campus asking students to consider whether their planned costumes are racially, culturally, or ethnically based. I don't know. Most pirates were Spanish. Does that apply to my pirate costume? It's crazy out there. Okay, we're coming up here on another commercial break, and then we've got a couple of callers waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones here to Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael, good day to you. Speaking of Halloween, I recommend you and Dustin go see that movie, Addams Family. It has to do with New Jersey. I think you'll get a kick out of it. I would really recommend anybody from New Jersey to see that movie, the Addams Family movie. But yeah, Mike, what's on my mind is what I heard today about Jesse Smollett.
Yes.
They're basically trying to cover this still up, and this guy, it was $130,000 in overtime. They're trying, the media's keeping this out of the media, but there's one network that does talk about it, OAN. And Jesse Smollett, if this would have been reversed, Michael, and this would have really happened, say this really would have went down, you would be hearing about this still to this day in the debates and all that. These Democratic debates, how poor Smollett was beat up by white guys, and Donald Trump make America great again hats on. I mean, what hypocrisy and what disgraceful, lying criminals that are controlling the media. It's absolutely appalling. Yeah, what's going on with the media. And this Jesse Smollett guy, he got off scot-free basically.
Yes,
biggest
he did.
hoax there is.
Yep.
And Chicago's off the chain, as you well know. You talk about it. It's off the chain. The demon rats, they keep talking about Trump and collusion and this and nonsense and that nonsense. These people are the biggest criminal enterprise there is as far as immigration, all this nonsensical health care and all this nonsensical crap that these demon rats push by the American public. And I hate to say it, Michael, you got a lot of uninformed voters. They're just total dummies. You got a lot of dummies. And
it was intentional.
I want to know what I would like to know what your take is. Yes, I would like to know what your take is on Brexit too. What do you think is going to happen with Brexit on October 31st, Halloween?
I don't think Boris Johnson's going to meet his self-imposed deadline. And I think if they don't resolve this, if they don't yield to the will of the British voters, this could literally result in a European civil war.
That's what I'm thinking, Michael. Exactly what you're saying. I think the same thing.
Yeah.
I think Ireland's going to blow. They're flooding Ireland with a lot of Muslims. I mean, I think things are ready to blow in Europe way quicker than they are in the United States. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And I honestly got to say, what's going on with the media in this country, like you had said yesterday, and when we talked about it yesterday, until I see one of these major networks actually fold to the go and be bought out by a bunch of where it actually goes more to the mainstream right.
Yeah.
The narrative with these liberals is just disgusting. This guy Shifty Schiff, he's working for Israel. Schumer's working for Israel. These people are actually, let's not kid. Well, your other callers tell you the same thing. These people are working for the state of Israel. They're not working for the United States.
Of course not.
And they want to flood this country to all these illegal voters, to swing these states, like I tell you. And look, Ronald Reagan's from California. And you couldn't get a Republican, no Republican guy that's going to run for president probably in the next 100 years are going to have an opportunity to get a vote to win the electoral college in the state of California. Win those electoral votes. So, the point of the matter is that the media is so ruthless and such lying hypocrites that I don't know who's running the media, the Rothschilds, the Soroses, or who?
Well, it's competing interests. It's competing interests. I mean, the one thing you need to understand is there's no one monolithic control system in power. It's factions. It's various factions that are fighting with each other, and they're fighting control for their agenda, whether it's globalism or, who knows what the heck.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Mike, let me ask you this, and maybe you can help me out with this guy. I would really like your research that you know about this, because I don't. As far as Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is this guy absolutely, was he kicked out of the Navy for cocaine possession? I like to know that, and the media's not talking about it, especially not even Fox News talks about it much. OAN talks a little bit about it. But I actually got to know, this guy, was he really kicked out of the Navy, or was the others, was it Hunter that was kicked out of the Navy for cocaine?
Apparently he was. Apparently he's been in and out of rehab something like 7 or 8 times.
So then he got on the board of Amtrak. And when he went from Amtrak, he went to this place in Ukraine. And from Ukraine, he goes to China. So this guy's an expert at all these organizing these corporations, I guess, whatever his job was, sitting on the board. And this guy was a cokehead, but now he's a super millionaire. Is that what I'm understanding here through the media? How is that possible? Usually when you get a criminal record in any kind of job, you don't even get a job.
Daddy was the vice president. That's Hunter Biden has admitted on video. Daddy was the vice president. Anyway, listen, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse every.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to take a few more phone calls, starting with Mike in Brazil. Aloha, Mike. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. It's a pleasure talking to you. Who's your daddy? Yeah, it's very funny.
I'm
I
still
don't know
kind
who
of,
came up with
I'm
this.
caught in the quandary here. I mean, I want to go on saying Aloha America because that's what everybody knows me by. And it's like I've been saying it for like 14, 15 years. And yet it's not appropriate from here in Indiana, and I'm still learning about the place here. And, it's wonderful. I mean, the trees are really turning to fall. There's this really big bird out there on the horizon, keeps going back and forth. I think it's a bald eagle.
Who cares, Mike? I mean, whatever you like.
I
you
care.
know,
I care about the symbol of America's military supremacy. So there.
Now you're saying something. No, really. I mean, this is funny. I mean, I don't know who came up with this stuff. Who's your daddy? But kudos to him. Okay. Anyway, the reason I called was about. I heard this gentleman that called earlier. I think about 3 calls ago. He was talking about Sandy Hook.
Yes.
Okay. Well, people need to remember one thing. Okay. First of all, when you have a mass shooting, okay, such as the magnitude of this one in particular, you don't have porta potties and you don't have "please sign in here." Okay, you remember those signs? They're all over the place. Please sign in. This is the place to sign in. Sign in to what? What exactly was going on that you need to sign in?
I remember that video from the sheriff of that whole area, where he literally went on national TV and said, "I will prosecute anybody promoting some kind of a conspiracy theory about what happened here today." I mean, and to me, that was the red warning flag, saying,
Yeah. You're
might
talking
as well
about that.
like glue a neon sign to your forehead. I am a liar.
Yeah, you're talking about that police lieutenant who also said that I hope that, well, quoting his own words, what he said, okay, I'm not making this up, okay, neither am I paraphrasing him. He said, I hope this thing is not going to come crashing down on your heads. Okay, so that's another red flag right there and there. So he knew what he was talking about. But the crucial point I'm trying to make here is this guy Fetzer, I could represent him. I'm not a lawyer. You know that. I said that yesterday when I called in. I'm not. My father was a lawyer. Was very successful one. He only lost 6 cases in 50 years of practicing law. 6 cases he lost in 50 years. So I think that's a damn good record that he has.
That's a very good record.
Probably, yeah, well, I probably inherit the genes from him. But I tell you what, I could represent this guy and win the case for him if they would allow me to.
No, see that that's exactly, you just hit in the head. They won't allow you to. It's like the case with the Boston Marathon bombing. I mean, I have made it very clear. There is a reasonable doubt that these 2 kids carried the bombing out. And it's in the photographs taken at the actual scene there. But they had this so-called defense attorney who walked on in and said, "Oh, they did it." End of story. That's how our system works.
As a defense attorney, what I would do, I would ask for the exhumation of the bodies. They must have some bodies buried, right? I mean, we had 27 kids being killed.
I know you mentioned that, and it's a good idea. It's not even really necessary. We know the school itself was decommissioned. It was inactive. There was no computer activity. There was no telephone activity.
It is a legitimate request that I'm asking because, I'm asking to see the bodies. What they call in law habeas corpus.
Yeah, habeas corpus. I understand what you're saying.
The body.
And it makes legal sense, Mike. It makes legal sense, but it's poor politics because they're going to get out there and say, "Oh, they're going to dig up the remains of these poor shot up 6- and 7-year-olds and everything just for this gratuitous conspiracy theory." And I'm sorry, I don't agree with this demand for an exhumation. simply because we don't need
Why
it.
not, Mike? They do it all the
We don't
Mike, they
need
do it
it.
all the time.
We don't
Mike,
need it. We don't
They
need
do
it.
it all the time.
Mike, you're
Mike,
not listening
whenever
to me.
there is
You're not listening to me. We don't need exhumations, okay? We know the school had been decommissioned. We know that there were no classes being taught there. It was being used for storage. It was filled with mold. The handrails were all broken. There was no computer activity. There was no telephone activity. We know the school itself was a theater shell. It was a set. We don't need to start digging up bodies and handing the enemy an opportunity to play for sympathy.
Mike, this is not the first time bodies were exhumed, okay? Nor will it be the last time.
I get that, Mike. Okay, but politics is perception. And I'm telling you
that's
right
That's
now.
exactly what I'm saying. Let's find out who's buried there, because they claim that 27 kids were killed that day. We want to find out where their bodies are.
I'll tell you what. You want to go ahead and try and get an exhumation order? Go ahead. But I'm telling you, you're sailing your ship onto the rocks on this one.
Not according to some people, Mike. Some people said I'm right, that we should ask for some exhumation orders from a judge.
I don't need it.
Because their case rests on this premise that there were 27 kids killed that day. Okay, fine. Prove it. They cannot prove it, Mike. The paramedics, and I think I told you some calls ago, when I used to call maybe 3 weeks ago or so, that I used to be a paramedic. Whenever we have an emergency, we send the paramedics in and pick up the bodies. No paramedic was allowed in. Why?
Yes.
This is my question.
No, I understand all of that. Mike, I understand and agree with all of that. What I'm telling you is from perception management, okay, demanding the exhumation of the bodies of the children, that's a bad move. It's a bad move. And we have enough evidence that something funny was going on that we don't need to do that. If you want to try for an exhumation order, go ahead. But I'm telling you, you're making a huge mistake. I'm going to start calling you Captain E.J. Smith. Okay?
But Mike, okay, point out to me, where's the mistake that I'm making?
The mistake that you are making is in the public perception, how the public will perceive digging up the bodies of these little children.
Well, what would happen if exhumation would turn out nothing but a bunch of sandbags in a coffin?
Do you think this government would hesitate to round up maybe 27 orphan homeless children on the streets of America, and gun them down to put in those coffins?
Well, I guess that's a little too late now, isn't it?
Maybe, maybe not.
I mean, we're talking about 2011 that this thing happened?
Maybe the government in 2011 went out and found a bunch of homeless kids and shot and killed them and put them in those graves. We know a lot of funny stuff happened. We know a lot of those parents got their mortgages paid off. Okay.
Yeah.
And this Posner deal, it absolutely sucks. And I'm in agreement there.
Mike,
but I'm telling you from the perception of the public, digging up those kids, bad move.
Mike, but the thing is this: Fetzer and Wolfgang Halbig, they have the right to discovery, and this is part of the process.
I am not arguing with that, Mike. I'm telling you, it is a bad public relations PR perception move, and you're not hearing me. Totally locked in.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
All right. Okay. Well, Mike, thank you very much. We're going to let you go and switch over to Nancy in California. Aloha, Nancy. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike.
Hi.
I was calling because Tom had a question, and I believe that there is an answer. Joel Stein said that the Jews control the media, and he said we're not going to apologize, and as long as we can continue controlling it, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
I'm very familiar with that, yes.
Okay, so there's there is that. And then as far as there being a lot of factions when it comes to control, I think that the one main control freak, if you will, is the Rothschilds.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Rothschilds are part of the cabal that controls the private central banking cartel.
Absolutely.
And you have other groups that are interested in being in control of the media, like Harvey Weinstein. And you have other groups that are interested in being in control of both corporate and social media, like Zuckerberg, because being in control is what they think they're supposed to be. They're raised to think that way. We are the chosen ones. We are here to make decisions for others. In fact, I remember when I was working on Lost and we had this director who shall remain anonymous. And we were making some decisions about set decoration on a location. And he said, we're going to do this, 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 and this, and this. I said, why? And he said, well, because, you know, it's up to we Jews to determine what the popular taste is. And he wasn't kidding. He actually meant it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That is the main control apparatus.
That's the main problem. These people are raised to believe they're supposed to be in charge of the world. And that's ridiculous because I'm supposed to be in charge of the world.
I wish you were, Mike. I think it'd be a better world.
Yeah, but then I'd have to make everything work.
Well, I think you're capable.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the confidence here. You're now in charge of my 2020 presidential campaign.
Have a good day.
All right. Thanks. We're going to switch over to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Your desire to run the world flies directly in the face of my desire to run the world.
Well, we could do it in partnership.
Yeah. Well,
I'll tell you what,
as long as I have 51%,
I'll tell you what.
you only have 49%.
I got a deal. You get planet Earth. I get the solar system.
Deal.
Claire's
the
in the other room
asteroids
laughing her head off.
quote-unquote comets that fly in are going to hit you before they hit me.
Probably. I'm willing to live with that risk. I really am.
Yeah. So when I called in, you were still talking about Sandy Hook. And as soon as you started talking about it, the first thing I thought of was the mortgages that were paid.
Yes.
Just by coincidence. But because that's usually like one of the big things, right? The money stands out with, quote, money. I hate calling it, the currency stands out. And, that, you know, greed and power, now it's, I suppose for these people, it's power now. I don't see how they can be any greedier as far as amassing a fortune. They have pretty much all of it now. So,
yeah, and it's inflating to the point of worthlessness. That's where it's going to backfire on them.
That's the intrinsic value of paper is really nothing.
It really isn't.
Right? That's why they delinked the gold. I mean, metals, precious metals are called precious for a reason.
Well, that's not why Nixon delinked from gold. He delinked from gold because we just didn't have enough of it to cover all the Federal Reserve notes that the Federal Reserve had printed up in defiance of the restrictions of Bretton Woods.
Yep, and Chirac called them out on it.
Yep.
Who recently just died, and that's pretty much that. And then, of course, you know, this they go to Saudi Arabia and all the oil-producing nations, and the petrodollar is born.
Yep.
And Trump is pulling back on the war dollar. So what I'm thinking here is he's trying. How does the United States get away from being a wartime economy where basically almost all of your manufacturing and subsequently everything after that, right down to the people that are eating and buying the food, is part of this wartime economy? How do you transition from that?
The problem is it's a one-way trip. We used to be a agricultural power. We used to be a manufacturing power. And then the war hawks got in place and said, we don't need to do that stuff. We'll just conquer these other countries and take their wealth. And there really is no easy way to go back because of the influence wielded by the military-industrial complex unless you let the entire system collapse.
Collapse. You've been saying that for a long time, and
I'm surprised it's still intact. I really thought it was going to be gone by now.
Well, snowfalls used to be a thing of the past, so don't feel bad, Mike. I mean,
I feel horrible. I feel absolutely horrible.
Oh, it's definitely coming. It's definitely coming. Actually, there's I was reading, or maybe you were talking about it, about everyone's kind of agreeing now that there has to be some kind of global economic reset.
Yes. Question is, what is it they're resetting us into? Is it going to be a new form of capitalism, a new form of fascism? I think that's what they want, or socialism. I know the liberals want socialism. The Republicans want hardcore fascism. I mean, they almost got rid of Franklin Roosevelt over that issue.
Yeah. Well, how about we get rid of the isms?
Okay.
Go back to what we already know. What we should do, I was a big fan of Jacques Fresco.
Yeah.
The Venus Project sort of thing. Whereas we really do know. Instead of looking at how we can screw each other over, why don't we look at what we have left? Actually have left right here on this planet, and how we can use that to make sure that we can get more by going out there.
Well, the big problem right now that we're all facing, the big problem that we're all facing right now with all this, LGBTQ nonsense, and we don't know what bathroom we're supposed to use, and, it's okay to touch children intimately. We've lost our moral compass, and as long as we've lost our moral compass, we don't know how to do the right thing anymore. So we just get led around by the nose. All right, Al, I'm going to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials.
Thanks,
we'll be
Mike.
right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Biopods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today here. And I want to get on back to this story about how Halloween is being, for all intents and purposes, eviscerated. Oh, you can't have a costume like this. You might offend somebody. So apparently the college, we're talking about the University of Michigan. Michigan State University, rather way. And the College Fix reports that they've put up these posters all over the campus showing what not to do. And the placards feature examples of costume fails, like a guy dressed like a mariachi, women dressed as a Native American or in a Japanese kimono, and apparently space aliens are now banned because of the linkage to illegal aliens. Well, what am I going to do with this 6-foot wide papier-mâché head with 5 antennae on it? So the American Mirror, which covers incidents of far left nonsense across the education system, got hold of one of the posters, which provides strict guidelines to students celebrating both on and off campus. They're even telling you what costumes you have to wear or not wear when you're not even on campus. No sombreros, no mustaches. I'm sorry, I grew this one. I can't take it off. This is part of me right here. Right there. No Nazi gear. I can sort of go along with that one. No Rastafarians, no illegal aliens, no Middle Eastern attire or other racially, culturally, or ethnically based costumes. So their students are warned to avoid any costume that involves cultural appropriation, which is Western appropriations of non-Western or non-white forms. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Halloween is supposed to be a time where you go on out and you play dress up. And when I was a kid, playing dress up was not a big deal. That's what the holiday was for. Nobody was offended. You showed up at somebody's house dressed as an Arab, you got a candy bar. What's wrong with that? Now, being a former actor, I do like Halloween. And I do have, that I've kept through the years, some moderately decent Halloween costumes. And I don't think they're culturally insensitive. And you know something? I don't care. All right? I'm going to dress up as a pirate. If you have a problem with that, too bad. If I dress up like Dracula, what am I going to do? Offend everybody in Transylvania in Europe? Oh, you can't do that. He's going to go blah, blah, blah. Too bad. Be offended. I don't care. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I am certain he has got interesting things for you today. Please spread the word of RBN. We need to build our audience. We need to grow our audience desperately. Spread the word for whatreallyhappened.com. Same thing. We need to grow our audience. We need more people coming on in here. We need to share what we know with each other during these very, very difficult and dangerous times. So we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.